Okay, so we should be live now. We're back from Sundance, and we still are continuing to watch some titles, all of that, and we are currently about to embark on that online um, em- journey. You want to call it that? But we're here right now. We're going to talk about some of the films that we saw in person and give us a ranking of sorts. That's what we're here to do right now. So I'm gonna pull the ranking in right now. These are for the in-person ones I was able to see over there. There was a lot of other stuff we did as well, so that's why we have like 8 titles we watched over there. But we do have some more that we currently are watching, and we've already watched like 3 other films as well as some of the shorts, which I'm telling you, some of those shorts are just incredible, especially one in particular, The Looming. I'll talk about that in a separate video, but these are for the features right here. These are the films that we saw in person, and this is my ranking of it. Of course, if you know Caroline's on here with me as well, they will be doing their own ranking as well. But this is my ranking right here, and we're gonna start this off in a bit, and we'll talk about each movie as well. Now, the way that this is working here, this ranking, just because one is in last place doesn't mean I think it's a bad movie. This is just the ranking I'm giving them. All of these movies, would I recommend them? I would say so. I would say all of these movies are great, honestly. But this is just my ranking because one has to be one and one has to be last. So that's how it is. So we'll start from the last one and work our way up to the first one. So at number 8 so far, we have Love Me. And Love Me was one of those films I was very excited for going into Sundance. I was very excited to see Kristen Stewart, Stephen Ewan in this movie. I think they are both some of the best actors we have working to date. And I was excited for this, you know? It was a movie that sounded interesting and had this sort of sci-fi element to it, but at the same time had romance, and I'm a sucker for both genres. So very much so here you have a film that is directed by Sam Suchero as well as Andy Suchero. I hope I'm saying that right, or Suchero. And it's both directed and written by them. You only have Kristen Stewart and you have Steven Yeun in this film, and those are the only actors in it. I'll read you what it says here. It says a post-apocalyptic romance in which a buoy and a satellite meet online and fall in love after the end of human civilization. So this was a film that I really was excited for going into Sundance. I was expecting a lot here, and to say I got something of what I was expecting is true, but it was too much of what I was expecting. So the film basically follows as the buoy and the satellite start to fall in love and they start to form this relationship. Of course, they are both machines, so they have to learn only from what was left of Earth after a huge event wiped out Earth. And so they are just working through this romance and this like trying to become like sentient almost just by using the memories of Earth. And it gets interesting as you see how our society shapes something in the future and what our society is really offering at the end of the day. But I just felt this film at some point started to get a little repetitive for my own liking, and so that was one of the reasons that it kind of came in last place for me, because I thought for the most part the first 2/3 were really strong, but that last third kind of starts to drag on a bit, and so that's the reason it came in number 8 for me so far. Of course, these rankings will change once I'm able to watch more of the films at Sundance, but Love Me is still, I think, a very high concept film worth checking out just for the amazing acting work from Kristen Stewart and Stephen Yeun here. But yeah, that was my last place so far. Next up is going to be at number 7, My Old Ass, which is starring Maisie Stella as well as Aubrey Plaza, directed by Megan Park as well as written by Megan Park. And this is a film about trying to sort of meet your younger self when you're older and vice versa. What advice would you give yourself when you're to your younger self in order to improve your older self's lives or your current self? And I thought this was an interesting film right here. So I'll read you the premise here. It says Elliot Labrant, who has been advised by her future self not to fall in love, is sure she can do so after being given the advice. That is, until she meets the boy her older self warned her about. And I really dug this film a lot. It was such a fun movie to watch with an audience, watching it with a packed crowd. Definitely gave a lot of good laughs, a lot of good feeling. This is a very good coming of age film, in my opinion, and I really do think it works so well due to Macy Stella's comedy like timing and all of that, as well as Aubrey Plaza in here. Even though she's not in it as much as I thought she would be in it, I still think that she delivers some amazing lines that are just laugh out loud. And I really do think that they have such great chemistry, the two of them together, especially when they're going back and forth with jokes and little banter and all of that. It was just so much fun to watch this film. But at the same time, I still felt it was a little bit too simple for my taste as well. I think that some of the points it's making are great, and the simple nature of it as well makes it okay. But comparing it to the other films I watched, I still felt I got a little bit more from the other ones. So I definitely do think it's a great movie. Whenever you get a chance to see My Old Ass, it is definitely one of those movies. I think it's going to be one that people are going to be talking about it, because I can definitely see this becoming a classic over the years. But just for me, regarding all the other films I saw, I still felt it was a little bit too simple, and like I've seen this already before. But overall, still a good movie, My Old Ass, and definitely we'll be talking about all of these films. They will each have their own video this week, so stay tuned for that if you want to know more about them. But let's talk about this next film right here, In a Violent Nature, which was actually my most anticipated and the first movie I actually watched in person at Sundance. And this film is directed by Chris Nash. This is their feature length. You might have heard about this film a little bit here and there, but it is basically the film that says, you know what, let's take the slasher genre, let's cut out all the victims, and let's focus just on following the killer. So point of view of the killer, we're following the killer the whole time, and that's all we're seeing. We're getting little tidbits here and there about the victims just from eavesdropping, sort of this voyeuristic type vibe to it, where we're just watching what's going on through the killer's perspective, and eventually we see when the killer strikes. And I thought this was such an interesting concept, and the movie for the most part is interesting, I will say. However, I do think that there is moments when the movie cuts to not just being the killer's perspective, because it does have a cut at some points where we go and be with the victims, and it sort of feels more like the slasher classic movie we watch. And I kind of like that a little bit sometimes more, and I kind of think that if the movie kind of was able to balance that a bit better, this would be just an instant classic and could possibly go to my number one spot, honestly. I honestly think that. But overall, I do think that In the Violent Nature has some interesting concepts. It has some insane and creative kills that I was just like, what is going on? Everybody in the audience was just going crazy over these kills, because they just come out of nowhere and they just hit so hard. Like, you are going to be like jaw on the floor about this. But I think that this movie works well for what it's trying to do. It's like if Terrence Malick made a horror film. That's basically the best way you can think about it, because there's a lot of scenery, there's a lot of long shots, a lot of quiet. But let me tell you, once those horror kills come in, it really goes hard, and it's just insane. So I'm excited to see what Chris Nash was going to be coming with up next, because I think that they are an interesting voice in the genre for sure, and I'm definitely excited to see what that's going to be. But yeah, In a Violent Nature, first movie of the festival, and definitely one I recommend for sure, especially if you want something new and different from the horror genre. Check it out. But let's talk about the next film on our list, and that is Handling the Undead. As a huge, huge fan of John Ajvide Lindbisk, who is the director, I mean, not the director, but the author of the book that this is based upon, and he also was the author of Let the Right One In. I was very excited for this film, and one of my top films to watch at the festival for sure. This film basically takes the zombie genre, strips it down, and makes it just about what exactly would we feel and how would that translate in real life. We usually see zombie movies and they immediately cut into the zombies just being violent, vicious, the world going into doom and chaos. But in Handling the Undead, we see that initial reaction. You see your loved one reanimate. You see them right in front of you. How does that make you feel? And that's exactly what I think is done so well in this film, is that it takes that whole thing about the zombie genre. It takes all of that about being scared, about being thrown into a world that's completely crumbling and burning, and it tells you, hey, you got to assess the situation right now. How do you feel? And I think the performances here from Renate Rennesby, as well as Bjorn Sundqvist, Bente Vorsum, I'm going to butcher a lot of these names, I'm sorry. Anders Daniels, Lai, Bahar Pars, everybody involved in this film just are great, honestly. Like, they are very good at evoking these very complex emotions about, hey, my loved one is right here standing in front of me. They were buried. They were just like had their funeral procession. They just were dead in the hospital, and now they're here, they're alive. I can see them, but at the same time, I don't really understand what's going on, and they themselves are just a shell of who they used to be. And it is a slower paced film as well, I will say that. So there's definitely more of this time to sort of mediate with everything that's going on and just try to soak it all in. And it asks of you to do that. And I think if you have the patience, if you have that sort of like feeling of wanting to just relish what exactly this feeling is, I think this film really works. It's not going into it expecting, I would say, like 28 Days Later or something where the zombies are high paced right in your face, because it's more of just letting that mood and that feeling sink in with this one. So definitely curious how this is marketed, because in a way, if it's marketed in a way where it's trying to say I'm a fast paced zombie horror film, people are going to hate it. But I think if it's in a way where it's saying, you know what, let's look at zombies differently in a more humane way, this one's going to be good. But let's get into the top four now, which is going to come in with number four, which is Hitman, which is directed by Richard Linklater, starring Glenn Powell. Glenn Powell actually wrote this movie with Linklater, so that was pretty cool to see. You do have Adria Arjona starring in this as well, opposite of Glenn Powell. And let me tell you, this is one of those movies. If you get the chance to see this with a crowd, please do so. I know it is being distributed by Netflix, so that means that it could have a limited theatrical window. But if you get a chance to see it with a crowd, it is one of those movies that is just a ton of fun with a crowd. I was watching this with a full crowd, completely sold out screening, and everybody was just laughing. Good old time, just appreciating the amazingness that this movie brings, because Glenn Powell and Audrey Arjona just have so much chemistry. They are both hilarious. The writing here is just on par with some of the best comedy delivery I've seen in a long time. And I really do think that we have seen now that Mr. Glenn Powell is a rising star, leading man for sure, and I'm excited to see what comes next. But Adria Arjona as well really delivers in this movie. So if you get a chance to see Hitman with a full crowd, definitely do so, because it is just a crowd pleaser for sure. And that's why it's that high up in my list. It was just so much fun. I don't know. It's just definitely one of those movies that I recommend to see with as many people as you can if you have the chance. Like I said, it's coming with Netflix. Um, so I don't know how much of a theatrical run it will have, depending. But I know they do theatrical runs like they did with, what's that movie? Glass Onion and some other ones as well. But the next film that I have on here for you to check out, and at number three, these are my top three, and these are very much so my favorite of the festival. Number three is It's What's Inside, directed by Greg Jardin. Another film, you go back, I talked about it, I was excited for it. I just felt this one was going to be special. It gave me the vibes that I had when I first saw Talk to Me last year on the Sundance slate, and I was just like, that's a movie I think I'm going to check out. And immediately became one of my favorites. But It's What's Inside, directed by Greg Jardin, is basically asking you to ask yourself, do you really know your friends? And this film actually just sold to Netflix as well, which is another Netflix movie now, for $17 million, which was a pretty huge bid at Sundance. This film basically deals with a group of college friends meeting up as one of them is going to get married, and then one of them brings a mysterious suitcase. Not exactly sure what's in this suitcase, right? It's something that is going to change your lives forever. And I think that that is just definitely all you need to know. Don't watch a trailer. Don't do anything with this movie. Don't let anybody ruin what exactly the whole thing with the suitcase is, because as soon as you start watching this movie, not knowing anything, and things start to unravel slowly and slowly, it is just a wild ride. Like I said with Hitman, I hope Netflix does a theatrical window for this, because this is just one of those fun movies to watch with a crowd, and definitely one of those movies that I truly had so much fun with. I'm not even lying when I say that I'm so ready to watch this again and again. It is just so much fun. It's What's Inside really is one of those movies that I think is going to be the talk of 2024. Just like Talk to Me, this is definitely in that same light as a fun, insane horror thriller, whatever you want to call it, because it just gets crazy and crazy. So definitely keep that one on your radar. That is going to be It's What's Inside. Like I said, Netflix got it. I don't know if they're going to release it in theaters for a small window or if it's just going straight to Netflix, but we'll see. I think that's a missed opportunity if they don't, but we'll see. Next one is going to be my number two, which is Exhibiting Forgiveness. Exhibiting Forgiveness is one of those films that I was wanting to see, and I had it on my list as well, and I wasn't sure if I was going to get the chance to see it. Luckily, I was able to see it as I had a small window opening to be able to see a movie, and I'm happy I did. This is one of those films that really surprised me a lot, starring Andre Holland, Andra Day, Ingenue, Elise Taylor, John Earl Yelks, directed by Titus Kaphar, and this is one of those films that is just truly, truly special, honestly. It is a film about forgiveness, it is a film about generational trauma, and it's just one of those movies where I just see a performance and I'm just like, that performance next year, award season's gonna go crazy, and if it doesn't, I don't even know what to think anymore. But Andre Holland is a complete show stealer, honestly, here. So the film, like I said, is dealing with so many heavy subjects, and it is just one of those movies that has so many great moments, so many amazing performances from top to bottom, and I'm just like ecstatic for when this film releases to see how everybody else feels about it because I came out of that completely in tears, completely loving this film. Just a very, very intense like film this is. Everybody involved here just did an amazing job from the direction to the writing to the acting to the score, everything from top to bottom. This is one of those movies that you definitely want to see and just relish in how amazing the performances are. But my number one film is going to be I Saw the TV Glow from A24, directed by Jane Schonbrun, starring Justice Smith, Bridget Lundy Payne, and let me tell you, high up on my list of most anticipated at Sundance. As a person who saw We're All Going to the World's Fair and kind of neutral on it, I didn't know what to think about it. I do want to give it another chance and watch it. But I was excited to see what Jane was up to next because I think that they have such a distinctive voice and have a very particular eye. So when I heard that they were teaming up with A24 for this film and they had Justice Smith and Bridget on it, I was excited. I think that those are two very good actors, so I was excited to see what they were going to bring. Nothing, and I mean nothing, could have prepared me for what I was about to see. So, little synopsis for you. Teenager Owen is just trying to make it through life in the suburbs when his classmate introduces him to a mysterious late night TV show. A vision of a supernatural world beneath their own, in the pale glows of the television, Owen's views of reality begin to crack. And this is a film that is just a movie that slowly takes you in. And it is a moody film, but at the same time has these very neon and high concepts working for it back and forth. And I really enjoyed how this film came to be as well. It is just one of those movies that I don't even know how to process it and that just cannot be replicated. This is something that is like straight originality. I can't even talk, y'all. But it's like something that you can't replicate. This is just something that is Jane's personal experience, and they're able to translate it this way into art, where I think somebody else would translate it into something else. So I think that's what I really loved about it. It was so unique. It was so, you could say, them about this film. It was just a film that they were able to conceive so perfectly, honestly, from the cinematography here to the camera work to the music. The music was just incredible. I need the soundtrack like today. And also Justice Smith and Bridget Lundy Payne. Bridget has such an amazing monologue in this, and that's all I'll say about that. It is just one of those things where I was so transfixed on the big screen, completely forgot anybody else was around me, and just immediately drawn to everything that they were saying. And Justice Smith plays one of the most heartbreaking roles I've seen in such a long time, and it got to me at the end. I was emotional. I was definitely thinking to myself, this is the movie that I think I will be having at number one for a while this year. I could definitely be surpassed. It's always a thing that happens, but I know it's going to be up there because it was just so good. And I think that the A24 has something truly special with this one. I think Jane, for their sophomore feature, is delivering just an incredible like work here. And I want to call it magnus opus because they're still really early in their career, and I think that they can definitely deliver more, but it is definitely going to be hard in my opinion, and I hope that they're able to, but to surpass something like this. It is just incredible work here. So very, very excited for I Saw the TV Glow. Once more people are able to see this, I am definitely going to be excited because I want to talk about it more. I don't want to give too much about this away. And, I just want people to really get a chance to experience this. I should have got some water or something, y'all. I've been talking for like 20 minutes. But yeah, those were my top films at Sundance so far. We've seen some other ones, and I'm currently working on those rankings, writing those reviews. I know we have a review up for I Saw the TV Glow, Handling the Undead, It's What's Inside, and A Violent Nature. So if you want to go check those out, check it out on www.culturelixir.com. That's our website. But yeah, we have watched several other movies, and we watched some of the shorts. We have a review on the short, which is The Looming, which actually won for Best Director, and I think it's the best short of the whole festival. But we do have some more reviews coming, and we have video reviews for all of these movies coming out starting tomorrow throughout the weekend. So stay tuned for that. And our Sundance coverage is going to lead more into next week as well as we finish all of the online films that we're going to watch. But just incredible stuff from Sundance, and we're going to be checking out and talking more about all of these films because definitely get some good stuff here. But yeah, anybody who joined, really appreciate you. This goes up as a video after, so if you didn't catch the live, it'll be a video. We'll try to do more lives as well, and that's something that we've been trying to do for the past year or so. But we're trying to get it going. So thank you to everybody, and yeah, let me know what you think. We'll be talking more about these in their own videos, so stay tuned for that. But as always, that is going to do it for me. I'll see all of you next time. Stay safe, stay positive.